This NBA All-Star break, we saw some crazy names miss the starting lineup, and now we're seeing some even crazier names missing the All-Star reserves. Today's video, we're going to be going and looking at the biggest snubs, and also asking the question, why are you an All-Star to certain players? This video is not to bash anyone's favorite talents, and this video is definitely not to discredit or degrade anyone in their position. We're just talking strictly hoops, and just remember, at the end of the day, I am one man's opinion. If you guys enjoy these types of videos and want to support the channel, we're only 5 subscribers away from hitting 600. So if you want to go down and hit that sub button, it would really mean the world to me. Without further ado, let's get straight into this video talking about the biggest snubs in first the East, and then we're going to talk about the West. Now, this is in no particular order, but for the Eastern Conference, the first player we're going to be talking about is James Harden. James is currently averaging 21 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, and a steal a night on very respectable splits. He's shooting almost 47% from the field and almost 40% from the three. He's really transcended his role as a player from once a dominant shot chucker who averages 30 plus points a night and leads his team to great regular season success. He's now sort of taken that back seat into a less shooting, more efficient, way better playmaker than we've ever seen before. And honestly, guys, this one to me is just a really bad look for the league. I'm not saying they're blackballing him by any stretch of the imagination, but we'll get into this later, how Tyrese Halliburton is an all-star with worse stats and way lower in the standings. That's my biggest problem. It's not really that Harden isn't an all-star, but you're going to give the all-star nod to Tyrese Halliburton, who's averaging worse stats on the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, when Harden is doing this as the 76ers sit as the 3 seed, and they've won 8 of their last 10 games. They're 8-2 in their last 10. I just can't see how Harden is not an all-star this year, but then again, I can't see how a lot of these snubs aren't. And the second snub being Pascal Siakam. He's averaging 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. And fun fact, he's only the first person in NBA history to average 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists and not get the All-Star nod. Now, this is especially crazy to me because Siakam's been an All-NBA player before, yet this is his season high, or career high, sorry, in points per game. I understand the Raptors have been very underwhelming this year as they sit as the 12th seed in the Eastern Conference, but if we're going to give a nod to someone like, again, Tyrese Halliburton or DeMar DeRozan, who sits as the 10 seed with the Chicago Bulls, I just can't really wrap my brain around this one. I'm not going to spend too much time on each of these guys, but again, Pascal definitely a snub. The third snub for the Eastern Conference, another point guard, Jalen Brunson. Now, Jalen, I feel like, has surpassed all expectations that anyone could have put on him. I mean, unless you're a true Jalen Brunson fan and you've been a fan of his game for a very long time, you probably did not see this coming. I thought Jalen was going to average something like 18 and 5, maybe a steal a night, but this season he's been averaging 23 points, 6 assists, and 3.5 rebounds a game, also with a steal a night, as the Knicks sit above 500 as the 7 seed in the Eastern Conference. Again, he's on a winning team. They've been playing winning basketball about half the year. They kind of go through this phase where they'll string along 6 or 7 wins in 10 games, and then they'll be in a slump like they are now where they're 4-6 in their last 10 games. And I know that's not the best look for the media, but Jalen has proven that he's not only efficient but capable of playing next to someone like Julius Randle. He obviously had a lot of success with Luka Doncic in the playoffs last year before he made the move to come to New York, but in my opinion, he's definitely worthy of an all-star nod this year. And the fourth and final one is Trae Young. I mean, I just can't believe that Trae Young is averaging 27 points and 10 assists this year, and he's not an all-star. I mean, the Atlanta Hawks put out a pretty funny tweet that was definitely in bitter regards last night. They said, list of NBA players averaging 27 and 9 plus assists a night, Trae Young, end of list. I did think that was pretty funny, and a lot of the team's medias are getting upset with kind of how these results are going. The Atlanta Hawks, they sit as the 8th seed currently in the Western Conference, or the Eastern Conference, my apologies. And they could finish higher, they could finish lower, but honestly, guys, if you're averaging 27 and 10, you should be an all-star. I mean, 30 to 40 years ago, if you were averaging 27 and 10, you were a lock for an all-NBA talent. I just think it's really funny when the season ends, we may see some people who were snubbed out of the all-star game make the all-NBA team. it's just going to be interesting to see how this progresses. As for the West, one of the biggest snubs is Swipa. De'Aaron Fox, he's averaging 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 5.5 assists with a steal and a half a night, shooting pretty respectful splits, and he's been the leader for the Sacramento teams that has been balling out this season, and he's been amazing in the clutch, one of the top 5 clutch players in the NBA this year. The Kings, they sit as the 3 seed, and they just have not gotten the respect they deserve as far as the all-star voting. I mean, Sabonis was a reserve, and that's amazing, but how is De'Aaron Fox not an all-star, guys? Another person that's, I guess, kind of confusing but kind of not is Anthony Davis not being an all-star. In my opinion, I guess the only reason he is not an all-star is because of how many, games that he's missed. But his counting stats, I mean, dude is averaging 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks a night. Again, he's missed a lot of games, so I'm taking this one with a grain of salt. But one player that people are kind of freaking out that did not make it is Anthony Edwards. In my opinion, I don't think he's an all-star yet. His stats speak for themselves. He's averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists a night. The Timberwolves have been pretty good, the last 20 games or so. They've definitely been better than the start of the year. I don't know if that's a testament to Rudy and Cat not playing together, but that's not what this video is about. Anthony Edwards, a lot of people think he should have been an all-star. In my opinion, he's still a little bit too efficient and childish to be an all-star. But in the future, he's definitely going to get those nods, especially because the media loves him and his personality. And the fourth and final snub for the Western Conference that I don't see getting talked about enough is CJ McCollum. CJ's averaging 21, 5, and 6 assists a night with a steal as well. Pelicans have definitely fallen from grace as they're 0-10 in their last 10 games. I mean, they were once upon a time the 1 seed in the Western Conference, and that obviously has to do a lot with CJ missing some games, and Brandon Ingram hasn't played since November. Zion's been out for a long time. They have definitely fallen down the standings a tremendous amount. But guys, CJ, when he was playing, especially without BI and Zion, he did a really, really good job of stepping up and being the #1 guy and just being an absolute hooper. Like, if you guys are watching these Pelican games, you understand what I'm talking about. Obviously, it's really hard for me to sit here and make a case for him as they've been 0-10 in their last 10 games. But guys, CJ McCollum definitely deserved his all-star spot this year. And when I learned that he wasn't an all-star, I was definitely a little shocked and disappointed. But now we're going to transition, and we're going to keep this quick because I don't like to talk negatively about people. We're just going to run through the East and West and kind of say, why are you an all-star? First and foremost, Tyrese Halliburton. He's averaging 20, 10, and 4, and those are amazing counting stats. But he's the 11th seed in the East. Trae Young easily could have been an all-star over him. James Harden easily could have been an all-star over him. Jalen Brunson easily could have been an all-star over him. And that's just the Eastern Conference players. I mean, Trae and James are averaging the same, if not better, stats than him, and they're higher in the standing, especially James Harden. He's much higher in the standings. But again, shout out Tyrese Halliburton. You're an amazing true point guard, super efficient, great team leader. I love seeing you on the Old Man in the Three, JJ Redick's podcast. I think you're a great person, and I really do congratulate you for this, but I do think this should have been another year for James or Trae Young, but that's besides the point. The second person, DeMar DeRozan, his counting stats are amazing. I mean, he's averaging 26, 5, and 5, but the Bulls are the 10 seed. I mean, again, I would give this to Pascal Siakam or Trae Young. Pascal maybe not because, his stats are the same, if not a little bit worse. But, the Raptors are the same, if not a little bit worse. Bam Adebayo is the third person I have on this list, and he's averaging 21 and 10. But guys, Bam is the most inconsistent, all-star, superstar player I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the Heat, they've bounced back very well. They're the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. When they started god-awful, people were talking they need to blow it up. I actually made a video saying they don't need to blow it up. They just need to retool a little bit. And I do think Bam Adebayo is a great talent, but I think there's some people, if we were eliminating conferences, I would definitely have De'Aaron Fox over him, or Anthony Davis over him, or CJ McCollum over him, or even Trae or Jalen or James, even Pascal Siakam over him. I mean, they've all been having amazing seasons, but shout out to Bam Adebayo. I think it's his second time being an all-star. I really do think you're an amazing piece. I wish you were more aggressive and took more than 18 shots a night, but that's for a different video. And the only person I have in the West, I think the West did a pretty good job of selecting their reserves. The only person I have in the West, Jaren Jackson Jr. Why the hell is he an all-star? I mean, he's playing only 26 minutes a night, and he's averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 0.9 assists a game. Like, I just needed a moment of silence for that because I'm truly baffled. I mean, this is like Kyle Korver making the All-Star game a couple, like in 2017 or 2018 or whatever. Or I think it was 2015 actually. Sorry, I just don't like this selection at all. I mean, it's not even like a bailout flashy player. Like sometimes they'll put people with lesser stats in the All-Star game because they'll put more butts in seats because, you know, they're flashy. Like when Steph Curry missed a lot of games and his counting stats weren't that good, obviously we're going to make Steph Curry an All-Star because he's an all-star and he shoots it from 50 feet and is going to have, you know, a lot of fun in the all-star game. In my opinion, I just feel like they need to eliminate conferences. Enough of this, guys. They don't need conferences in the league to select the best all-stars, and they should also probably up it to 15 players per conference. But I don't know, these are just some wild takes I had, and this video was just the biggest snubs and some questions as to why you're an all-star. I guess the people I'm asking, why are you an all-star, should have been replaced with the snubs. But what do you guys think? Did I get this right, or was I completely way off? Who, in your opinion, was the biggest snub? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your guys' support. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.